Welcome to this month's Disability Tech Talk. I'm Molly Lazarus, and I'm the director of Remarkable's U.S. Disability Tech Accelerator, which is part of the Cerebral Palsy Alliance Research Foundation, or CPARF for short. For additional accessibility, I'll share a visual description of myself. I'm a white woman with long, dirty blonde hair. I'm wearing a pink shirt. I'm told I have a very expressive face and currently average Wi-Fi, so you may want to picture me with my video frozen and a ridiculous expression on my face. In case this is your first online event with us, we'd like to tell you a little bit more about what CPARF does. Despite being the world's most common lifelong physical disability and affecting 18 million people worldwide, cerebral palsy is one of the most underfunded conditions. That's why CPARF funds research and technology that will positively change what it's like to live with CP. On the science side, we're currently funding an array of projects that address cerebral palsy at all ages and stages of life. CPARF-funded research projects focus on chronic pain, technology, regenerative medicine, genomics, adulthood, and early detection and early intervention. The discoveries that researchers make today will make a difference for millions of people for generations to come. And then on the innovation front, we run Remarkable US, US-based disability tech accelerator that is part of a global Remarkable Accelerator program. We provide seed funding, mentorship, deep dives, and support, and we help startups bring affordable, life-changing technology one step closer to the people with disabilities who need it. The world isn't built for disabled people, but thankfully there are companies that place disability at the forefront, and Remarkable US is working with them. And We Hear You is one of those such companies. And I was lucky enough to work with Pierre Paul and his team in the 2024 Remarkable Accelerator. And boy, are we in for a treat tonight. Pierre, I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Molly. I am so excited to be here to follow your lead. Visual description: I am 5'9" on a good day. I am a Caribbean man wearing a black hoodie that has our logo and our name on it. We hear you. My facial hair is a bit unkept, but just know I am smiling bright at the opportunity to be here.
Amazing. I can feel the vibes. So, Pierre, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your professional background?
Absolutely. So I was born in Minas Gerais, Brazil, grew up between Guyana and Ohio, very strange times. But in that journey, I learned a lot about myself and I learned a lot about how the world tends to treat individuals who are different. So with that, I grew a passion for helping others and innovating, and I didn't fully know what direction until I got to college. I was getting my bachelor's in political science. I was set to go to law school, but I had a dream to invent assistive technology. So I decided not to go to law school and instead got a master's in nonprofit leadership and started building assistive tech to change the world, working with disability advocates around the world to understand what was being faced, collecting real data, and then building to innovate. And now I'm a PhD student in disability studies, and I'm actively still innovating to change the world.
Amazing. I don't know where you find the time. Um, so you spoke a little bit about it, but what drew you to kind of being a startup founder? Why did you decide that this was the pathway to solve the systemic problems that you were feeling?
Yeah, great question. So when my family faced barriers for being different, being against the status quo, I very quickly realized that this was not unique to my family's experiences. And then as I started to learn that the disabled community is the largest minority group and one that faces the most isolation due to the fact that the world is not built equitably, I knew there was always a path in this vein. I just didn't fully recognize it until a literal vision slapped me upside the head and said, "Hey, time to get to work." And so from there, it was a learning curve because as an able-bodied individual, I never want to perpetuate ableistic mindsets as I'm innovating for and with the community. And so learning that early on allowed me to fall and then be lifted up by members of the community so that I could actually become an ally that was not just building for, but building with.
I love it. That is what we are all about. Because I know you, I'm curious to get a little bit more of your backstory. Kind of, you hinted at like its similarities to something you experienced growing up, but if you're open to it, would you want to dive into that a little bit more for folks who may not know?
Absolutely. So when I came to the US, I only spoke Portuguese, which is interesting because Guyana is the only English speaking country in South America. But I was born in Brazil when my parents were studying, and I just picked up Portuguese and got really good at it. When I came to the US, the school system was not as impressed that I was speaking Portuguese. And so they really were forcing acclimation, or else I was going to be held back in school. As I started to learn English, I started to understand what my family was experiencing. And it seems so wild because I came to the US in the early 2000s, but it was being chased out of grocery stores, people writing hateful, prejudice, xenophobic messages on our apartment door. It was this level of hate that was so hard for me to quantify until I was able to get older and realize, oh, we are afraid of things that are different. And so that journey really was this catalyst. And my parents reminding me when the world gives you hate, you have to give love back and then double it and triple it. And that mindset is what allowed me to not become recluse and decide that I didn't want to be a part of this world because they didn't want a part of me. Instead, it gave me a drive to communicate with people to say, hey, just because I'm different does not mean we don't have similarities that allow us to grow and scale and build together. So I really did turn the hardships that my family faced into a vision for the future that now leads me in the direction that I'm in right now.
Yeah. And for those who are wondering the name of your company, we hear you, open doors. There's two things there. And do you want to talk a little bit about kind of how that led you there and how you are now opening
Yes.
doors for folks?
Yes. So, I'll start with the funny side of it. When you're a new, young, budding entrepreneur, you're doing everything fast and everything feels really cool. And then you look back and then you're like, probably could have done that better. And so we hear you comes about because, in simple terms, when people ask us why we do what we do, our answer is because we hear you, right? So that is the poetic aspect of it. When you look at it, why becomes we hear you. The nuance is our first invention as a company was a sign language translation company. So it had a play in that sense. And then now we are opening doors using voice activation, using proximity, using gesture, all of these different ways. And so we also built this technology because we heard the struggles of the people around us. So that is where the name We Hear You comes from. And it does really give a play to why my team believes in the mission that we do, and also the sign language background that got us started.
I love it. And if you're on calls with Pierre and his team, you will often see them signing to each other, which is really fun if you know how to read it because they talk to each other quietly. Um, so tell me what you do now. Tell me what We Hear You does. Tell me how you're opening doors. Give me the whole shebang.
Yes, so right now, We Hear You has created a device that we call the Hero Door Opener. This device is currently the lightest in the world at about 5.8 pounds. We just filed our patents, which is always fun and exciting. And we created a portable system that can make virtually any door automatic in about 15 minutes. And the way that this is game changing is because there are over 42 billion doors around the world, and less than 5% are automatic. And so the logical question is, well, why would that be the case? And it's because it's too expensive. It's because hardwiring into buildings is not always the smoothest situation. And automated systems are clunky. So we decided to shrink it down, decrease the time to install, and ensure that you didn't have to hardwire it. So that whether you wanted a bathroom door, a bedroom door, a hotel room door, a small business door, it is affordable because accessibility is not something we should be compromising on. And so we've been scaling. We're in Our technology as a whole is in over 150 doors across the Midwest. The Hero launched officially in January, and we have over 200 Heroes on pre-order. And we're just scaling and vibing and opening doors and watching people's lives change in the best way possible. And an example is a little boy who was able to open a door for the first time on his own by using one of our push fobs on his back patio door. And he was so excited because he was able to help his mother when she was bringing in groceries. That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the little things. And so you've said a couple things. There's a push fob, there's something attaches to your door, there's a voice activation. Like, walk me through. I have a door in my house and I want it to become accessible. What do you do and what does it look like?
Absolutely. So we walk into Molly's beautiful home, and she showcases to us a door that is not automatic. And I just happen to have a Hero door opener with me. So I say, hey, Molly, do you have a screwdriver, a Phillips head screwdriver? And I take 4 screws and I screw a bracket into that door. And then the Hero slides onto that bracket. We attach the arm to the top of the door. And then we set the time that you want it to stay open. We set the duration. We give you a push fob. And we also set you up with the app. So you can say, hey, Siri, push, or hey, Siri, open Sesame, or Shazam. And you can set your code word to open the door automatically. And just like that, we would be able to turn one of your doors into an automatic door without having to call an electrician, without having to break the bank, without having to spend hours of time wiring. You simply screw, plug it in, and play.
That sounds exciting. Tell me what the other side, again, frozen face. Tell me what the other side looks like for ADA or accessible doors. What are the other options on the market? And kind of like why did you innovate on this thing that in theory there are doors that automatically open?
Yeah. So right now, the ADA actually technically does not require doors to be automatic, believe it or not. But the ADA does require reasonable accommodations be made for your space to be more accessible. And so right now, a lot of businesses will get a commercial grade system, right? You're looking at 40 to 60 pounds. It goes the entire top length of the door. You call in an electrician to hardwire it into the building to ensure that the building has the components conducive to working with the automatic system. They then hardwire the button to be a lot of times in an inconvenient place behind the door when it swings open or too far away from the door. And then if you ever have a maintenance concern, you need to call in those experts because it's not as user friendly to open their device. We love the fact that automatic doors exist, whether it's revolving, whether it's sliding, whether it's a hinge door, but it needed an upgrade. And so what we did with the Hero is we took what people have built and we appreciated what they built. We scaled it down and then we took it to the next level.
And you said it's more affordable. What does that mean?
That's a great question. So if you wanted to get a revolving door for some reason in your house, it would be about $30,000, believe it or not, even though revolving doors are the bane of a lot of people's existence. A sliding door kind of falls in that 5 to 10, 15 range. And then a door with the hinge, the swing doors, are anywhere between four and $5,000. And that's including the electrician coming in to hardwire. The Hero door opener is less than $2,000. There's an ADA tax credit that we qualify for that gives you 50% back what you spent to make your location accessible if you make less than $1 million a year. And since you can do the home install yourself, you're not paying for an electrician to come in and do any work. You're able to take care of this on a rainy Sunday at home by yourself or with your pet.
I mean, that's pretty great. That's a significant price decrease, which means I imagine that people are able to start using them also in homes if they wanted to. Is that
Yes,
right?
we've yes, we actually just left a residential install that was a great learning experience. It was an amazing time. But so people do get to use it in their homes. And We are looking forward to decreasing the cost even more, right? The way that we see it, we are still in a phase where we're building 5, 10, 20. But as we scale up to building 50, 100, 200, we are going to be able to decrease the cost so it's even more affordable.
That's awesome. Many of you who have listened to other Tech Talks know that one of our tenants in Remarkable is affordable assistive technology. So we were very excited, both at your current price point and where we believe that the price could go. Talk to me about how you've been integrating lived experience into this product and maybe how that's adjusted what you've done.
Yeah, we did something early on that I think people in the business world steer away from and sometimes cringe when they hear it. We started off pretty hot, right? We launched within 6 months. We had 62K in revenue. We had people who were interested, and this was in just our receiver. We made a receiver that could make already automatic doors compatible via fob, via app. People were loving it. But we decided to stop and collect valuable feedback from the community. And so that feedback told us exactly what we needed to know. One, we need longer battery life. Two, why isn't there an app? And that came from a member of our team with quadriplegia because we had innovated a way for her to utilize the fob, but she was like, I need a Bluetooth app so that I have the full autonomy. And then the third feedback that we got was, this is great, but we can't afford an automatic door. So what about us? And so once we built that out, we then partnered with Starkloff Disability Institute in St. Louis and Epic in Peoria. And we said, hey, here it is. Try it out. Break it. Tell us what you think, what you like, what you don't like. And we continued to get feedback. And even now, as we work through a partnership with Perkins, the first call it was, how is it in terms of accessibility for individuals who are low vision and blind? And we're like, you know what? This is where it is. This is how it can get better. This is our plan to make it better so that this is something that you're proud to champion. And so it's a lot of conversations, it's a lot of back and forth, and it's a lot of redesigning, but that's the beauty of building in a universally designed way. You get excited when somebody has something that they love and something that they don't like so much because it means that there's room to grow.
A question coming from Morgan in the chat. And so a couple questions here. How do you feel about using it in those places that have double doors, where they can like smack the wheelchair if they don't stay open? What does that look like with the Hero? We'll start there.
Yeah, great question. So you said it, and when Molly was reading it, I literally imagined a situation where I witnessed it firsthand and saw a piece of the wheelchair literally chip off because it hit the wheelchair. And so the way that the Hero comes into play is twofold, right? We're working to adapt a sensor so that when there is an object in the way, it will always open back up before it even reaches the individual who is maneuvering. And then for double doors, we've had a couple clients buy two Heroes that we just sync together to open those doors in tandem. But what you're talking about is a very real problem that we've identified, and we're going to be solving it using a mix of our kind of proximity sensors that we already have to open the doors, and then sensors based on motion as well.
Amazing. And this is the second question here is how long does the duration of the timer last? And it's an interesting question because I feel like when I interviewed you all back in the day, the question I asked was like, can it stay open longer? But Morgan was asking about what if it's a security issue and you want it to close earlier? Like, are there durations for this?
Yes, and right. So you can set it based on your specific needs. So just left a house where they wanted it to stay open for 15 seconds. Last week, we left a house where they wanted to stay open for 30 seconds. But if we go to a commercial building, we're working with Delmar Devine, founded by Maxine Clark, the founder and CEO of Build-A-Bear, and they have different security regulations. So they're wanting to limit that time frame. So we're saying, hey, if you want it to 10 or you want it to 15, it can be adjusted, but make sure that you're paying attention to the needs of the individuals who are coming through the door. So we
Yeah.
definitely want to keep giving the power back to the individual who is using it, as opposed to this like one size fits all. It's always going to be open for 10 seconds. I might need 20 seconds. And so
Yeah.
that's going to be adjustable as we continue to move with the hero.
So the idea is the idea that you could have your own time frame for every hero door you encounter.
Exactly. We can credential doors right now to say, oh, that's Molly's phone. Oh, that's Pierre's phone. They're coming through the door. And then that next phase is Molly likes hers on a setting for 7 seconds. Pierre likes his on a setting for 30 seconds. So then it helps accommodate the needs of the individual specifically.
Awesome. Awesome. So we're kind of hinting at it, but when you are wildly successful, tell me what the world looks like. Tell me what the world looks like for disabled people. Talk to me about like the grand vision.
Yes. So, fingers crossed, toes crossed. When my team and I are wildly successful, the world is more universally designed and equity is clearly built in. There are more ramps, there are more automated doors, there are more sign language translators present at events, there are um, more wheelchairs at the front of venues for individuals who might be ambulatory. We Hear You is hoping to be a household name for accessibility. And we hope to expand beyond just what we're doing right now for individuals with a physical disability and keep expanding out. And we want to grow with partnerships like Remarkable, who are building the next generation of accessible companies. So when we are wildly successful, we are just getting started because um, there's not enough funding in this space. There's definitely growing, but if we can contribute to more funding, I don't think people are going to be upset,
Yeah.
right? But We Hear You envisions a world where it is normal, commonplace, and I use normal in a very unique sense because normative norms have a problem in and of themselves, but I want it to be odd when people see a door that's not automatic. That's what I want to
Yes.
catch them.
Yep.
I want that to be what catches them off guard. I want them to feel a type of way when they see a space that can have a ramp that just doesn't. And they're the ones choosing to say, hey, you know this company exists, right? They came out of XYZ cohort and they're doing really great work. I think people would really appreciate this.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. So we're a school, we're a business, we're a home. How do we get these doors, these door openers from you all?
Yes, you go to our website, wehearyouopensdoors.com, and you look at our product offerings. You can order it on the website and you can reach out to us. We've done this really beautiful thing, and it is so much credit to my co-founder Bethany and our national lead sales developer Jamal. Um, People will reach out to us on our website and just kind of run the gauntlet of some really cool questions. They'll send us pictures of their door. They'll tell us what their vision is for their home, their space, who it's for, whether it's for them or for a loved one, or it's their university. And they will like give us all the tea. And then from there, we literally send that information to our tech team and we say, hey, this is the lift that we have for this week. What changes do we need to make to the hero to make it accommodate this specifically? How do we get them what they need to achieve the way that they want? So go to our website, follow us on LinkedIn. You'll probably find us randomly. We're always traveling. So
You are
invite us
always
to a conference. Always our The fact that we're not in a car right now is a miracle.
And so you make them custom for every person, or how long would that then take? Like, I want a hero in my house
Yeah.
tomorrow. What's the
So
expectation?
luckily, most people are asking for very small changes to their hero. So once we get the order in, we are able to deliver a hero on the fastest 2 to 4 weeks, on a slower end 4 to 6 weeks. Right? Naturally, we are feeling a little bit of an impact from the tariffs. We brought most of our manufacturing domestic, but there are some things that are always going to be more affordable to do overseas. But usually, when people place their order, we look at our inventory, we look at what they're specifically asking for, and then we just get the hero ready to have the torque needed to open a door that is 5 pounds or a door that is 200 pounds. We get the arm needed to adjust based on the width that they want allowed. So those are simple tweaks that we can make all within that, let's say 4 to 6 week period.
Okay. So I want to shift gears a little bit. And I want to dig a little into like what it means to build something, right? I think, we talk to these founders who are like, I have a vision for the world. I went ahead and did it. But I'd imagine there's been a lot of bumps and challenges and kind of like in the trenches that you've all been going through to make the world into the vision that you want. And so if you could maybe paint a picture of like what that has been for you or a moment where you're like, man, uh, this is founder life. Like this is what it takes to get something in the world. Because I know you've been in this space for a while. We were in the cohort together, a year ago. So curious if for those listening who maybe don't understand what it means to create something and get it into the world, what your take on that is.
Oh, so many ideas came to my mind. That's an amazing question. And I'll start with a quotation that if people have listened to me speak, they've probably heard me say it a time or two. A good yes is protected by a million no's. Being a startup founder means that you are going to be told no a lot. You're going to be told no by people who you love, who you respect, by people who you don't love, who you don't respect. And the fact of the matter is, having the ambition and the drive to get up after being told no and taking it on the chin, appreciating the difference that they have, but refusing to quit. Being a startup founder is, and I heard this a while ago and I didn't love it when I heard it, but it's true. To be a startup founder, your relationship with work-life balance is different because you eat, breathe, and sleep this work that you do. I don't have any children, and I know Molly just had a beautiful child.
It keeps me up all night too.
But, and exactly, it keeps you up all night and you're constantly worried about the well being of the business. You take it personally when anybody has anything to say about the business, even though they're allowed to have their opinions. And it's such a journey. It is a roller coaster that is the best and the worst at the same time because you will be on cloud nine today. And then tomorrow, you will get news that just takes the air out of your lungs because you don't know how you're going to cover the next batch of X, Y, and Z. There is so much hope and wishing in being a startup founder. And there's also so much grit and dedication because we got this. We didn't get here by luck. We didn't reach these feats by luck. And the fact that people have our technology that they're using every day when they wake up and walk out of their front door, or when they go to the bathroom at their university, they're using our system and they don't even know that's what they're doing. But our technology is in the world making somebody's life better, even if we're not seeing it happen in the moment.
Yeah.
So, and I'll give an example. I don't want to ramble on for too long, but I'll give an example. We built the hero, we launched the hero, we had version one, version two, version three, all these different versions. And we would get 6 pieces of good feedback. And then one piece of feedback that was just really critical. And it was a moment of us sitting as a team and saying, okay, let's spend 3 minutes being upset. How dare they? Like, why would they say that? Do they know how hard we worked? And then let's spend 30 minutes understanding this from their perspective and knowing that they want us to succeed just as badly as we want to succeed.
Their vision for the world is the same. Just the act of getting
Exactly.
there is hard.
Exactly. The critics are your best friend because the yes men are always going to love you. They're always going to support you. But the people who are willing to sit you down and say, hey, this ain't it, chief, those are the ones who push you to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's important. I ask that because I think a lot of us see the products that exist in the world and we just think like, oh, Apple made it, big store made it, like big box. But I think what we see in Remarkable are folks like yourself, some who have disabilities, some who don't, who are like, I'm like eating, sleeping, and breathing this thing, and it's why we bring, folks in to kind of give you feedback during Remarkable roundtables and things like that, because you want to create a world that is inclusive, and the more feedback you get,
Absolutely.
the more you open the aperture of what's possible.
Absolutely. And even what you just mentioned, when we came in Remarkable, we were bright-eyed, we were excited, and we had all these things. But it took the serious conversations with you all that were like, hey, this is great. And you can be good at this section of things, but you have to take it to the next level. We didn't have the hero built out. We were still tweaking the receiver. I thought I was good at delegating. Like these moments of like tough love that took what we had, molded it so that we could go out into the world and be more ferocious. And then to this day, we still shoot y'all messages and are like, hey, so this is how it's going. And you're like, that's great. Tell us about the part that you're not saying. Say the quiet part loudly
Yes.
so we can help you tweak and fix those.
Yes.
That's yeah, Remarkable has been the highlight, one of the highlights of our entrepreneurial journey because it was real growth, real scale, real help that we didn't know we needed.
Well, we appreciate that. I promise I didn't cue you up for that answer specifically, but
I'm not a paid actor. I'm not a paid actor.
um, so I'm open to questions. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Also, just kind of wanted to see if there's anything that maybe we haven't touched on that you feel like we need to dig more into tonight.
Something that I think is beneficial for people to hear hardware people who are hardware individuals, hardware companies. You hear it all the time. Hardware is hard, right? People don't like investing in hardware. I think this, I breathe this, I believe this. People say that as they hold a hardware device, as they sit on a hardware device, as hardware runs their life. Hardware is tough, yes, but its longevity is unmatched, right? We love software, we love AI, but the same way that you can have ChatGPT one day, then you have Gronk or Kronk or whatever that one is the other day, and then you have the third one that just came out overseas. It evolves quickly.
Mhm.
A table is a table, no matter how you spin it. It has two legs, it has four legs, it has six legs, but it is innovating on top of a table, right? The hardware in and of itself has purpose and has drive. So I want my hardware founders out there and my hardware and software founders to know, yeah, it's a lot of work. Yeah, it's a lot of upfront costs.
Mhm.
But yeah, you're inventing something that will be revolutionary for so long.
Yeah.
And I say that as a door innovator, the hardware space of the door was so untouched. And even as we innovate on top of it, we're just building on top of what's already there because whoever built this hardware product did it so well that we can't just scrap it and throw away. We have to learn from them.
Yeah. 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 I mean, you would think that a door is a boring industry, but you all have proved that innovating in the door space can be life-changing. So I just want to thank you, Pierre, for joining us, and thank you to everybody who joined us tonight and everybody who will be watching this later. Um, Pierre, any last words before I close out for the evening?
You know, final words. Diversity and inclusion should never be the afterthought of innovation. It should always be the foundation.
Yes, I think you are in good company in believing that on this call. We're grateful to have you here. We're grateful to have your team here, Jabal and Bethany. We can only do this important work for all of you who are here. without your support, and it means so much to us. If you would like to support this work, you can donate at cprf.org, and we hope that you give us a follow, you listen, and you help bring this science and tech to life and make the world more accessible alongside us. So enjoy the rest of your evening, and Pierre, thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.